Welcome to today's PDP event on successful internships. Today we have 7 fellow business students who completed an internship this summer and will be sharing their advice. To start, please introduce yourself.
My name is Carissa Padilla, and I'm a senior supply chain and marketing major. And this summer, I interned with Lockheed Martin Space.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jada Sleet. I'm a senior studying management and marketing. And this summer, I interned as a diversity strategist at a creative marketing agency called RAPP.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Scalli, and I'm a senior marketing and MIS major. I interned with a company called LEARFIELD Sports and worked with one of their marketing teams there.
Hi, my name is Ava Hernandez. I'm a senior ProSales student, and this summer I got to intern at Schnieder Electric in Houston.
Hi, my name is Caleb Howard. I'm a junior marketing and entrepreneurship major, and this summer I interned with Texas Farm Bureau Insurance as a finance intern.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Tinker. I'm an MIS and supply chain management major. And this summer I interned with Valero Energy Corporation at their headquarters in San Antonio.
Hi, everyone. My name is Braeden Sully. I'm a senior studying management and English. And this summer I interned with PwC in their customer transformation practice.
Our first question to start is, how did you find your internship?
So for me, I would say that whenever I was on the internship search, I obviously knew that I wanted to do something supply chain related since that was my primary major. And for me, I've always loved the defense sector. So I knew that supply chain and defense was a way that I could kind of narrow down my internship search. My first choice was Lockheed Martin, specifically in their missiles and fire control or space division. So I applied to honestly probably 30 to 40 different jobs within Lockheed Martin, really hoping to primarily stay in Dallas, but really I was open to going anywhere. After applying to those 30 or 40 internships, I was actually denied to all of them. So, at first I was a little bit discouraged by that, but really what I learned through this process was that tenacity is really important. And even just applying and getting your foot in the door by them seeing your application can really help you in the long run, because a couple weeks after I got denied from all of those internships, I actually got a phone call saying, we have 2 more openings and we would really love for you to interview for both of them. And so I ended up doing both of the interviews for Lockheed Martin and was so blessed to receive both internships. And then once I had to kind of decide between whether to go all the way to Connecticut for the summer or go to Colorado for this summer, what really helped me make my decision was what were my career goals and which internship did I think would benefit me more in the future. So I ended up choosing to go to Colorado, where I worked as a procurement and supply chain intern in the Lockheed Martin Space Division.
Thank you so much for your insight, Carissa. Michael, how did you find your internship?
I had a pretty unique experience with finding my internship. I believe it was fall of last year that there was an MIS career night where there was a panel and there were some guest speakers on that panel. One of them was from Valero. And I attended that event. And then after I spoke with him, just briefly asked him a few questions, introduced myself. The next day, he actually came to one of my classes with another technical director from Valero. And they spoke on a project they had worked on, doing the whole systems development life cycle. And I was able to engage them in that class, talk to them after, and they saw the interest that I had in the company. And they invited me to come speak with them at the career fair later that day. And so I did, and I asked a few more questions, continued to show my interest, and was able to speak on my understanding of the concepts from different classes that I've had. And they sent me an email that night asking me to interview on that Friday. And then there was also a social event that I was able to go to, which really helped me just get comfortable with them and get to know them more as people and as recruiters and why they chose Valero. And
the next question is, what advice would you give fellow students as they search for their internship?
I would definitely say to use your resources and to not give up. I was in a situation pretty similar where I was applying to internships, but I was really prioritizing one company that I really wanted to work for. So essentially, I was putting all my eggs in one basket. And when that didn't work out, it was pretty stressful. And at one point, I was just really certain that maybe I just wouldn't have an internship for that summer. But it is important to realize the resources that you have. We have amazing resources here at Baylor, the Career Center and Handshake, but we also have more resources out there, such as LinkedIn and Glassdoor and Indeed as well. And these sources really have awesome features where you can narrow down your search within the filters. Just knowing what you want. What location do you want to be in? Are you looking for just part-time or potentially full-time in the future? And then on top of that, it's also, of course, to research the company and their core values. But more than that, see if those core values and that company culture reflect on their presence online. Is that reflected in their Instagram profile, their LinkedIn profile? And then another level to that is to see the reviews that former employees have and current employees have of that company, because that really does tell what the culture is like. So again, don't give up, use your resources that you have, and just know what you're looking for.
Caleb, what is something that you wish you knew before your internship?
So I think the number one thing I wish I knew before my internship is it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to not know stuff. Because I know for me, I did a finance internship and I know a lot about finance from classes and I know kind of the mechanics behind it. But a big part of that, my role at Farm Bureau was to reconcile policies. And I've never been taught to reconcile policy in a class, and I didn't know their system, and it was all new stuff. And I think I came into it really nervous about that. But as my internship went on, I began asking questions, and I began doing just asking lots of questions of my supervisor, and like, what is the best practices to this? And they really were so accommodating, and they trained me how to do it. And so I became a lot more confident, a lot more encouraged in my work. And then I was able to take my ideas I learned from school and implemented them into my job. So I think a big thing is like, it's okay. Like, I know coming into a job, I had a lot of stigma behind like, I need to know everything, but it's okay as an intern to come there and learn. And then you can put your practices into their business that's already running.
So for my next question is, was your internship in an industry where you see yourself full-time?
With me, management consulting is definitely something I see myself in full-time. The typical kind of, I guess, pattern that people undertake within management consulting is to do like 2 or 4 years working at typically a big 4 firm. So either PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, or EY, as well as one of the like an Accenture or one of the MBB firms, so McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, or Bain. And then you from there, it's typically like either use the extra opportunities that come through it and move on to like a larger role at a smaller company, and or go and get your master's, go and get your MBA, and then from there kind of leverage it, either come back to working with one of the firms and or go back and work for more of a boutique firm. So this definitely is something I can see myself working in full time, simply because of the variety of work that's kind of given to you, regardless of where you are in management consulting. It's nothing of like a truly kind of like you're set in stone. Like, you don't really have to specialize with a lot of these companies until around 2 to 4 years like spent at the firm. So you get a variety of insight, a variety of experiences, to where you can truly kind of decide, oh, maybe I want to get my master's in marketing, or maybe I want to get my master's in analytics after doing whatever it might have been for the first few years. So without a doubt, I would say management consulting is something I can see myself doing for the next however many years.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. I got to work in like the college sports industry, which is really cool. And similar to Michael, it was like I didn't really plan on doing that with my job, but like marketing can really be done anywhere. So I kind of like was like, that'd be a cool industry to work in, and that's like something I would like challenge people, like for an internship, try things that like that you're interested in, or like even outside of your box that would be cool to like try. I won't be working in sports, but it's also a thing that like it's a great place to find a network, and it's a very network driven industry. So I had that for later down the road if I want to go back into that.
Jada, how did you find an internship that was best fit for you?
That is a great question. What I first think about is that finding an internship that's the best fit for you is very similar to choosing the college that you're going to go to, or choosing a place where you're going to stay, mainly because that is an investment of your time, and that has a huge impact on your future. But also, it's very important to find an internship where it supports your career goals. It can help you define your career goals, but also a place where it can support you emotionally and mentally, and just as a whole person. And so when I did find the internship I just saw the title diversity strategy, and I knew that diversity was something that I'm already naturally passionate about. And the D&I space was completely new to me, but I wanted to learn more about it. And so I really went in. And then when I had my interviews with the company, I was able to understand the company culture and how, work-life balance is an important thing to them. And that's also important to me as well. So when I was in the internship, not only did I, of course, do my work and I had my deliverables, but I also had one-on-one conversations with my manager. And a few people within my experience have just become really great connections and really great mentors for me as well. And they really did show that they do care about you as a person. So this internship this summer has really taught me a lot to prioritize yourself, prioritize self-care. And but I was able to go in and accept this position because I was able to find that this internship was a great fit for me. Just based on my research and seeing the company culture and values.
What are the best practices to maximize the internship experience with the limited amount of time?
At Valero this summer, they had a unique method of engaging with the interns. They had these career mentor meetings. I believe there were 18 of them, including the vice presidents of each department within the information services department. And so they encouraged us to schedule one-on-one meetings with all of these individuals, as many as we could. I took that opportunity to meet with all of them to get to know how they got to where they are in their career, what drove them, and kind of where they see the industry going, and then also get some advice from them and just get their opinion on whatever project I was working on and get to know them just on a personal level, which was really great. They also offered weekly optional meetings that were for career development. They called them coffee talks. And those were pretty helpful. I think a lot of different companies have programs like that. And so showing your interest in the company through attending those events and through scheduling those meetings is really important. Showing that you're interested in the company and also just wanting to learn more, even if you don't see yourself ending up in that industry, is really important. You can gain so much knowledge through all of that. But yeah, connecting with the company itself and the people in it is a really great way to make the most of your internship experience.
I would say a big part for me is just like asking as many questions as you can to maximize just like your knowledge you learn while you're there. But also another thing that was really important for me is not just doing the stuff that's in your job description, but of course doing the things that are in your job description, but always asking above and beyond what you can do, and just making sure that you're always in a position to help others and to serve others. And that really helps and goes a long way, I think.
What are some pro tips that you have to really differentiate yourself within a company?
So the first thing I would say is, like, if your company's big on like having like an open door policy, which mine was, like, take advantage of that. Like, schedule meetings with people. Like, most of the people at my company had an open schedule. Like, you found a time, take advantage of that. Come with questions, come prepared to talk to them, and just kind of like soak that up. Because like you'll find that like even if you don't like what you're doing, you can find out other people in the company and what they're doing, and possibly pull some like information from that and see if that will help you in the future.
Depending on the company, they don't always necessarily have work for you to be doing, and you might find yourself with a lot of downtime, which can kind of seem overwhelming at first. But just really taking that time, it helps a lot if you're in a hybrid work environment to show up in the office, because I find that I learn the best from meeting with people in person and utilizing your coworkers. Just use that time to learn, especially I'm sure we're learning a lot of new skills that we haven't necessarily applied that we're learning in the classroom. And then another small thing that I think makes a big difference is just, I know I met with my other interns virtually because they were all throughout the country, and just being the first one to chime in and introduce yourself or ask others how their day is going, what they're doing at their field offices, it makes a big impact and shows that you're personable, you're willing to be there, you're willing to learn, and you really want to be immersed in the company culture.
This question is more about what are the main factors that you would consider before deciding to pursue a full-time offer with a company?
I would say that honestly, the factors that you use whenever choosing a full-time position are similar to whenever you're choosing an internship as well. So something like location is going to play a really important factor. whether you want to stay in your home or travel the world as soon as you graduate. Another thing I know that we don't like to talk about as much, but honestly, pay is a really important part of it. Make sure that you are getting paid for what you're worth, and like don't let a company maybe, steamroll you or not pay you enough. Know ahead of time what kind of the going rate is for some of the jobs that you're applying for, and be ready to kind of negotiate those terms as well. So that's obviously an important factor for all of us. I would say another thing is going to be the industry. What industries are you passionate about? What causes are you passionate about? And if you want to get into that immediately after college, then definitely try to do that and apply to as many jobs in that sector as possible. And then another thing that I would say is really important is also company culture. If you interned with a company that past summer, did you like the culture of the company? Did their values align with yours? And just really making sure that you feel like you would be a great fit at that company, because even if you're getting paid the right amount, or even if you're in the location that you want, if the company culture is kind of off, then you're really not going to enjoy the job, and it might not be a successful first job out of college. But with all of that, I would also say that your first job does not have to be your dream job. I know for me, I'm still kind of in the deciding phase right now where I'm like, do I want to stay in defense? Do I want to go to another industry? What company do I want to work for? And I would say don't put too much pressure on yourself whenever you are looking for that first job or deciding which job to accept, because you have your whole life, honestly, to really move careers, change things around. I know that there's a statistic right now that within the first 5 years out of college, most people change jobs at least 2 to 3 times. So don't feel like the first job that you get is the one that you have to stay in for the rest of your life, and really kind of just enjoy the process and try to make some good memories in that first job.
To kind of echo Carissa, I would say that company culture and values are the number one things, and especially in a more realistic team setting, especially as kind of like management consulting can be, like seeing if there's the people that outside of the job you want to spend time with. Like, is it something that's merely transactional in the sense of, sure, we work together from 9 to 5, but after the fact, I don't want to see them, I don't want to be around them, or are these the people where they can ultimately make a big difference in your life? They can be people you can make lasting connections through, you can make lasting relationships through. So ultimately just thinking of like do I want to spend time with them outside of the job? And I guess kind of even applying kind of like airplane test that recruiters will use in an interview, is thinking like, if you were stuck in an airport with your coworkers for however long, would you be able to like stomach it? Or is it something where you're like, whatever, like I can't do it? Like, are these the people you truly want to be around? And I think kind of like going forward in your career search, ultimately, especially your first job, this is a place where I can see myself. I can ultimately, if it's not for a long time, can I see myself surviving or enjoying myself for the limited time that I'm here? So just ultimately finding a company culture and finding company values that align with kind of like who you are as a person, because that's what matters the most. I would say at the end of the day, it's about your ultimate satisfaction within the role you're playing. So just focus on company culture and values.
The next question is more about how can you leverage your experience from an internship so you can differentiate yourself from future employers?
One piece of advice I have for you when starting your internship is think about starting an activity log. And so throughout the week, throughout your days, if you take a couple minutes every day just to update what you did, and maybe if you want to make a side note, a main takeaway you had from that experience or that job, that project, and think about what you learned. And so once you've kind of formulated that log and looked back and reflected on your summer and what you've learned, the activities you've done, think about the main things that you learned from that experience. And then when trying to impress future employers, you want to look at what job description you're applying for with them and see how these skills and activities and what you learn apply specifically to that job.
And I can add to that point too as well. In addition to building an activity log, which is really important, I will also say build a portfolio of what you've done, the skills that you learned. That will help you track everything that you're doing. That will help you articulate what you've been doing when you're when it's time for you to explain your previous positions to future employees. And then also see how what you did applies to the spaces and the industry that the company that you're looking into are in. If you can use the skills, hard skills, soft skills, all the insight that you've gained during your internship to the company and industry that you're interested in, that is very impressive. And another thing that is really important and impressive as well is to share your passions. We do a lot of networking here as business students at Baylor University, and in all of my experience with networking with different recruiters and companies, they are super happy to always talk about the passions that you share with them. And when you do share your true passions, things that you really are excited about, that just translates. That certainly your passions can reflect in other people too as well. And I think people are just naturally really happy to hear about what you're passionate about. And then, you know, to add the cherry on top, if the things that you're passionate about are things that the recruiter is passionate about, the company is passionate about as well, then that is just an amazing deal.
What actions have you taken to distinguish yourself from your peers?
One thing I did to really show interest and investment in my internship company was finding a time that worked during the week with um, my manager who led the interns this summer. He was virtually in Nashville while I was in Houston. So while I couldn't meet with him in person, we set up a time every Tuesday at 9 a.m. We would have a 15-20 minute Zoom call. We would kind of go over what I did the week before, what I was planning to do this week. And he made sure to invest in me as well. Once he saw that I was willing to learn and I really wanted to see every area of the company and invest there, he helped me get connected with people from other offices around and other people with different positions in the office to take me around a job shadow and things like that. And so I just really got to learn from him and build a personal connection with him. And if I ever felt overwhelmed or unclear of my task for the week, it was always a great time to refresh and stop and kind of just talk about what was going on with me and get to spend time with him.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to that, when it comes to going the extra mile, as a few of us have already said, there is going to be downtime. You know, companies can only come up with so many projects and tasks for interns. And so one thing that I did was when I did have that downtime, there's about 2 weeks there during the internship, kind of in the middle after I had submitted a deliverable. And I asked my manager, said, hey, is there any other projects that I can get on? Any other enhancements that I can do some work for? Basically anything to learn more, be a sponge is really what they want to see. Just soak up everything. And so, you know, meeting with people that was going the extra mile, trying to understand the business, at least for information services at Valero, you know, we supported the business activities. And so it would be really easy to just end up in that department, not care about anything outside of it. So I was in commercial. I could have gone the entire summer, not tried to learn a single thing about refining or any other aspects of the business. But showing that interest, trying to do more with your time beyond what they've assigned you. I mean, there's a baseline, but you want to go above and beyond. And then I also ended up shadowing my boss for a bunch of the summer, probably about a third of it. He was doing support activities when it came to our department. And so getting to shadow him and understand the processes behind that, I think was really impactful on the success of my internship. I learned a lot about how the company was structured from an IS standpoint, and really how support works from behind the scenes, what processes you go for problem solving, and just understanding like who to talk to about certain issues was really important.
So within the internship, what would you say was your greatest accomplishment and how do you achieve that?
For my internship, outside of our daily responsibilities, we also had a capstone project, which I think a lot of internships do. And it's a really cool way to like bring something out of your internship to like show to future employers. But we were tasked with building somewhere where we could store and share a bunch of our examples of how we've marketed with different schools in the past, as well as some brainstorming tools, which started as a very like monotonous project. We didn't think it was really going to go anywhere. But we kind of like got to do some stuff outside of our job description and built a website out that the team is like now using, and it like has like really helped contribute to like revenue and stuff, which is really cool. But with that, we got to do a presentation at the end of the internship. It was a really cool way to like help just show like what we learned, as well as just like having people there that are looking to like hire us, and like they could see that we really understood the industry and made something that like helped contribute to what our team does.
During your internship, how do you maximize your access to leadership?
One way that I really maximized my access was just turning myself into a yes man and saying yes to any activity that my manager wanted to take me and include me on. With sales, obviously, you're facing a lot of customers, and anytime I might have been working on learning modules or doing a project or doing more of my busy work, if he asked me if I wanted to join along and go see a customer, or there's a lot of visiting manufacturers and distributors in this industry, I always said yes. And it kind of helps the manager too by showing face at these places with the clients and with the manufacturers and distributors. It just shows that the company as a brand is really invested in their partners. And so getting to also see their techniques when it comes to selling and relationship building and networking, it was just really valuable to be able to go with reps and my manager out into the field and see how they do things.
I can say to that point, in the sense of accessing like leaders and mentors with PwC, especially post pandemic, I'm certain this is kind of like industry wide. Of course, everyone is more or less working at home or in like a hybrid kind of situation. So through that, PwC more or less prioritized like the use of like Google Meets, Google Chats. So there's a lot of downtime regardless of your position. So I was able to just do like weekly checkups with the partner who interviewed me way back in the fall of 2020. I was able just to access him and send out emails here and there, send out messages here and there, and of course meet with him through Google Meet. So by utilizing that, I was able to actually get in contact with his son, who was in the same kind of field as me. So I would say just like the technological side of everything, the technological piece was very important, just helped throughout. And I was able to make connections from just reaching out from there, as well as just focusing on the relationship side of things as well, whether it was in my kind of like my team as well. I was the only intern working on my project. So within that, I had superiors that were still just invested in my well-being, invested in learning about me on the personal side of things. So I would say just using technology as a result of the kind of like situation at hand, I would say definitely allowed me to maximize just the relationships that I was able to create this summer.
Last question. What was the greatest challenge you faced and how do you overcome this?
I would say that my greatest challenge during my internship honestly came at the very end. As I progressed in my internship, I realized, wow, I love Lockheed Martin. I love what I'm doing. I love this job. But I also realized that I wasn't sure if I really wanted to be so far away from home in Colorado whenever I accepted a full-time position. And I was very blessed to actually be offered a full-time role in Colorado. However, that would not have transferred to Dallas. So I had really the last 2 weeks of my internship was really just about me deciding, am I going to accept this role or am I not going to accept it? And during that time, I really just had to, again, think about my values. What do I put first? What is most important to me? Is getting the job right now the most important to me, having that security right now? Or is the most important thing to me the fact that I, just for my personal health, my mental health, and just my values of being near my family, that I think that that would end up being a bigger role for me, that I wanted to, again, be closer to home in Dallas immediately after college. And for me, after weighing really all the factors, I actually ended up deciding to not accept the role in Colorado. But because of that, I just had to make sure that I was honest with my manager. And I was very honest with her and upfront, really from the beginning of my internship. Like, I was a little bit scared to be in Colorado, never really done anything like this before. And really, whenever I did to let her know that I was not going to accept the role at the end, she already knew. I loved the job, I loved the role, but she also knew, because we had developed a relationship, just how important my family was to me and how much I really wanted to make sure that I took care of myself about everything else. And so because of that honesty, I think she actually volunteered to help me get a role in the Dallas area with Lockheed Martin. So I'm very blessed about that. And she is actually currently emailing a bunch of her coworkers that are based in the Dallas area. And hopefully I will be accepting a role with Lockheed Martin in the next few weeks to few months. But with that challenge, I would just say the biggest thing is being honest upfront about your values to your manager. Let them know, again, what your personal goals are, and don't be afraid or ashamed about being honest about what you want, because really taking care of yourself and making sure that you're happy and satisfied with whatever role or job you end up accepting is more important than accepting one right away immediately at the end of the summer, I would say.
Thank you to all the students who we interviewed today for joining us, as we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Students, we wanted to thank you for being with us today. And we wanted to direct you to the URL that will be in the screen to complete the survey and register attendance. Thank you.